Hi everybody and welcome to Inside View. I'm your host Chris Stevenson and I have a nice show for you today. My guest today is Kathy Gallino, who's the head of Economic and Community Development in Calaveras County, which is a big job. And interestingly, Kathy, you told me that you are a one-man show. Yeah, in your office you are it. Is that correct?
I am it.
Yeah.
I've been with Calaveras County now a little over 3.5 years as the director and the one-man show.
Yeah.
Or one-woman show.
Yeah.
And things are going really well. I mean, we've been up and down with the pandemic, and I love what I do, and I love serving my community.
Okay, so economic and community development. So for those of us that are not savvy about government and that sort of thing, tell us, what is it that you do exactly?
So my primary role is to attract and retain businesses in Calaveras County. So whether it's a new business that's starting up or a business that's expanding or a business that might be having trouble and trying to get resources or employees or permits done. So I help with that. I also help work with community organizations. A lot of our communities have parks, have special districts, and working with those entities to make sure that our communities are healthy and whole.
Always good. So you said maintaining and developing new businesses to the area. Is that the main part of your job, or does that take up the bulk of your time, or would you say that's just sort of just one little aspect?
I'd say it's an aspect. Obviously, with job growth and retention comes the need for housing, the need for employees, the need for having the right land available or reusing a building that may be empty. So I work a lot with realtors associations, chambers of commerce, our business associations. So it's a lot of different things. And the community development part of my job is everything. It's the kitchen sink. It's if somebody calls and they don't know how to get a hold of somebody, I sometimes have the resources that they need or the phone number they need to call.
That sounds like a lot of hats you're wearing.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh, do you? That's great.
I do.
Good. So what would you say that the biggest challenge that you have is it, well, we're in the midst of COVID right now, so that's got to be a big one. Has the county's response to COVID-19, I mean the people in the county, has that helped or hindered economic development in this area? I mean, all right, so it seems as though we're not particularly good at receiving the vaccine, okay? And there have been a lot of businesses that have been resistant to like mask wearing and that sort of thing. So when you compare our county to other counties, how are we doing as far as like business development and business in general?
I think that because we are a rural county, we're primarily conservative. I don't get involved in that kind of thing. It's a personal choice as far as I'm concerned, and it's up to the businesses to operate how they feel best. I have seen other rural counties that have struggled with the same thing. Our vaccine rates are lower than some other larger counties, but it is important that you get the vaccine, I feel. That's my personal decision and my personal choice. But as far as business owners and the COVID impacts or the impacts of COVID, the biggest one is financial. I mean, a lot of these businesses had to close, and they did comply. And they struggled. They still had payments to make and bills to pay and no income coming in. So it's very important to me that in going forward, that we have our business resiliency program in place, which I've been working on for a while, as well as funding options. So there's a series of grants that I have written, and I'm working on getting out to our business sector. Some of them will be forgivable, and that's what I'm really targeting now, are the forgivable loans or forgivable grants, where I can help businesses, whether it's to pay for bills or debt service, or maybe some of their equipment went bad in the last year because it hadn't been used and they need new equipment. So those types of things. And I'm working on hopefully rolling that out in the next few months.
So that sounds like the gist of it is like grants and loans to help businesses financially just make it through the pandemic. Okay, how much response have you seen from the community? Are you getting a lot of people that are asking for help? And do the businesses out there know about the programs that you have to offer?
Well, they don't know officially. I haven't done a press release yet because I want to have the money in hand. I'm very close to getting awarded the funding, but until I have it in hand, I really don't want to say much other than ask the questions, see what the businesses need. They know I'm just a phone call away. A lot of the businesses I have have very close relationships with. I talk to them through the pandemic. Also, part of the issue is a lot of our employers are not able to find employees. During the pandemic, people left. They moved to bigger cities. They've got other jobs. And one of the greatest things I hear now is that I can't find anybody to hire.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem.
Of course, we've all heard that and President Biden has said, quite frankly, that if you want to attract more people, you need to pay a higher wage, and that's difficult for small businesses, isn't it? But would you say that it has it been more difficult during the pandemic to attract new businesses into the area as well?
I would say so, yes. The one business sector that did very well during the pandemic was Airbnbs and short-term lodging. There were a couple other businesses that were very entrepreneurial that were able to come in by remote working type things. But as far as brick and mortar, no, we didn't see a lot of that.
Remote working has been a big change in our nation overall, thanks to the pandemic, and a lot of people have tried to move into the area. However, housing, as you mentioned earlier, is a huge problem. I sold my house and I had to rent a house for a while, and I was so lucky that I found one, because other people I've talked to just simply just can't find a place to rent, and so it's difficult, isn't it?
It's horrible. It's horrible. In fact, my son and my niece are both back at home with me now. They had jobs in the Bay Area during the pandemic. They lost their jobs in the Bay Area with the pandemic. They lost their apartments. And so they moved home with me, and now they have great new jobs here in Calaveras County, which is exciting, but they can't find any place to rent. Yeah. So they're living at home, and we're making it a good, we all have our little roles and responsibilities, but they're itching to move out, and they look every day.
So what's happening with the housing issue in Calaveras County right now?
I'm glad you asked.
Hey!
I'm glad you asked. So very exciting. I've actually have been working with 3 developers to look at putting in affordable or workforce housing. It's not the Section 8 housing, although there may be a small component of that, but it's for workforce housing. You're right, we don't make the money that we make in the Bay Area here in Calaveras, and the rents should be such, equivalent to that. But if there's nowhere to rent, if there's no apartments or duplexes or townhomes, then there's nowhere for our people to live that work at a 15 or 20 or 20, even a $25 an hour work rate. So working with these developers, there's one that's in Valley Springs, there's one in Copperopolis, and there's one in Murphy's that I'm talking to specifically right now, and actually have meetings with them next week. I'm also working with our housing coordinator, our Calaveras County housing coordinator, Lee Kimball, who is amazing. She works with the planning department and with our Health and Human Services agency. So she's going to be like our housing coordinator. Then there's 2 financing pieces. So there's the Rural Development Corporation, as well as our Stanislaus Regional Housing Authority. So I'm trying to get all the players in the room. I need the financing, I need the developers. The county can help with some of the infrastructure or maybe siting.
Okay, so what is it, workforce housing, what exactly does that look like? Are we talking about apartments and condos, or are we talking about houses?
So both, but primarily we're looking at like apartments, multifamily housing. We don't have a lot of apartments, and what we have is you are on a waiting list for years. It's also working with like our Habitat for Humanity, so Scott Beal, who's wonderful, and they've got 107 units that they're going to be doing an Angels Camp, which I don't know if you've had a chance to meet or talk with him, but he's an amazing individual. And those will be also single family homes, but affordable, so first-time home buyers. A lot of home buyers, are first time, and they can't afford $500,000 or $600,000 or $700,000 for a home. So we need to have those markets available as well.
And maybe that will help retain some of the young people that are graduating from high school and such in this community to stay in this community, which would be nice too, rather than have to move away to someplace that's even less expensive than the mother lode area. Mm-hmm. So with regard to development, is there sort of a sentiment, or is there any is there a culture in Calaveras County that's anti-development? Yeah, you smile because I can imagine there are people that would think to themselves, I don't want more people in the county. I don't want more traffic. I don't want more competition. So what do you say to that?
There's always been those that are not for any type of growth, but yet they want services. They want, things. They want to be able to shop. They want to be able to eat. They want to be able to be seen at a doctor's or a hair salon. So I think there is a balance. I don't think we're ever going to be any big time Trader Joe's kind of location. It's just not our demographic. And in looking at census data, the preliminary data, we did do a little bit of growth since 2010, but not significant. So I don't see us worrying too much about growing out of our limits or our culture or our natural resources. It's more about, having some of our kids, like you said, stay here, grow up here, go to college, come back here and serve our communities.
Mm-hmm. Do you go to like conferences and such where you have to talk about Calaveras County and try to attract businesses or entities to think about this place as a place to expand or start businesses? Do you do that?
I used to before the pandemic.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. You probably do it by Zoom now.
do it by Zoom. We have a thing called Select USA where you can actually go and, market your county or your community or your region. And so I am part of the Central Sierra Economic Development District, which is a 5-county group which contains Amador County, Calaveras, Tuolumne, Alpine, and Mariposa. And so we tend to work collaboratively because we're all very rural and very motherlode and very similar, although we're different, but we're very similar in nature and composition. So we work together to send one representative from our 5 counties. We also have to be very careful what we're attracting and what we're looking for. As I said, we're not going to get a Trader Joe's or a Costco. It's just not, for Calaveras, it's not going to happen. But, we need more things that support our natural resources. We know about all our forest products. We have dead and dying trees. We have all this debris and fire load, fuel load in our mountains, and we need to get those out of there and get those processed. There's other products that you can make with that if it's not just lumber. And so there's scales of economy there to help develop those types of industries.
It's interesting that you mentioned lumber and forestry, because when we think of economic development, we're thinking of, like an Amazon warehouse or more McDonald's or whatever, these kind of retail establishments or manufacturing. But like agriculture is like right up our alley. We already have a nice agricultural entity right here. Are we talking about also like agri-tourism? Because we also have tourism in our country. So these are probably things that cross your plate all the time. But I don't know about them. Tell me what you know.
Oh, gosh. So actually, 2 years ago, I did an agri-tourism workshop where I worked with UC Davis and our Calaveras grown, our local farmers and ranchers. You bet agri-tourism is a big thing. And just our wine industry alone, working with the Calaveras Wine Grape Alliance, we're pretty special. And yes, that is a huge component and a huge part of the funding that comes into this county, the dollars that come into this county.
Yes, the wine industry also, of course, is huge. If you've driven through Murphy's, you know that, or you see the grapes on the side of the road. But right now, our wine industry seems to be predominantly sort of family-based, which is cool. Everyone likes that. It's like when you go to the wine tasting place, you can speak to the guys that are making your wines and that sort of thing. Has there been any sort of larger corporate wine companies that are looking at Calaveras County?
No.
That's good.
Well, it depends on which side of the coin you're on.
I know, that's true.
But we're pretty limited to the spaces that we have and where our good wine region is. And so I think it's awesome too that, there are local farms, there are local wineries, they're family run, and it gives Calaveras the unique feel that it has.
Yes, it does. Is one of the difficulties that you deal with our lack of broadband in places in the community? Well, now where I live, it's great, but there are a lot of places in this area where it's really hard to get good signal.
It is, and it's actually one of the initiatives that I'm working on as well, working on a series of 3 grants through the U.S. Economic Development Administration. One of them is through again, the Central Sierra Economic Development District, but we're working on developing a broadband roadmap so that we can actually identify per county exactly where the last mile is, the middle mile is. Connectivity is a huge issue here in Calaveras County.
Wait, explain to
I'm
me what
sorry.
you mean by last mile and middle mile. I don't understand that.
So we have an internet trunk that comes up from the Highway 4 corridor. We also have one that comes up the Highway 12 corridor. And it only branches so far. So what we're looking for is middle mile, where it's the next section. And then the last mile is those most remote areas that are to your house, if you're up country.
I see.
Or like in West Point, they have Volcano, but there's other parts of our county that there's nothing. It's close, but it's not close enough. So we need to find a way to get the infrastructure built to make that connection from the trunk line to your house.
Do you think, is that an absolute given that we need to build more infrastructure for broadband? Or the Starlink system is out there now, and granted, I don't know a lot about Starlink, but it seems like satellite-based broadband might be the way to go, and it might be a great thing for our very rural communities.
Absolutely, Mariposa County's using it quite a bit.
Are we optimistic about Starlink or pessimistic? What do you think?
I don't
What's
know
your
yet.
professional
I
opinion?
say the jury's out. I think it's expensive. It's about a $500 or $600 buy-in. I don't think that a lot of families that are probably most remote are going to be willing to chunk that out. I think it has possibilities, but I kind of want to look and see what Mariposa does and what some of our other rural partners do. But it may be an option. There may be some areas where we just can't get that last mile or quarter mile, and that might be the only option they have. But broadband's an important thing for education, for economic development, for safety. I mean, it's a big deal. And so working very, very hard on those. And then the third grant that I'm working on is actually for infrastructure grant. So there's a bill, it's SB 156, that the governor has put forward that will be allocating about $7 billion, sorry, that's a B, $7 billion for broadband California-wide. And again, working as a 5-county consortium. And we've had some conversations with the governor's office. They know that we're here.
In fact, you told me before our interview that a delegate from the governor's office came to town. Can you enlighten us on what was said during that?
He got the tour de Calaveras, and it was fabulous. So I had Calaveras Connect, our local transportation, paratransit, meet us in Moke Hill. We started there. We gave him a tour of our communities, talked to some of our businesses. So we talked to folks in Moke Hill, Susan from Moke Hill Nuts, and Chrissy from Hotel Leger. From there, we took the bus to Copperopolis, and we met with Copper Valley Town Square folks, Copper Valley Development Partners. They're the new owners of what was the former Castle and Cook property. We did a tour of the new hotel in Copper, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it is fabulous. So from there, we went up to Angels Camp. We toured the museum, spoke to a couple of business owners in Angels Camp. From there, we went up to Arnold and Avery, and we met with the new owners of Hinterhaus Distilling. They're fabulous people, really, really, really good people. From there, we went through Murphy's, and then from there, we went to San Andreas, met with some more businesses, and then from San Andreas, we went to Valley Springs. And then from Valley Springs, we met with Jamie and Joel Brandt from the new grocery outlet in Valley Springs. We met with some other folks, and then from there, we went back to Moke Hill. And when he got off the bus, he said it was the most incredible tour he'd ever had. We must have covered, I don't know, 200 miles, it seems like. But he got a really good feel for Calaveras, and he'd never been here before, didn't know anything about the foothills or the gold country or the mother lode, for that matter. He's actually from Southern California, but we didn't fault him for that.
Yeah. Did you get the impression that that other people in Sacramento are just not aware of all of the great things we have in Calaveras County, and this was eye-opening to him, and that he might take that back to some of the people in Sacramento?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
great.
that's the whole plan. And
Yeah.
as I said, he's going to be our delegate for the Central Sierra region. He was really blown away is just the bottom line. And so obviously that message, I'm sure, will go back to the governor's office.
That sounds great. So we talked about some of the, the challenges that you might have in attracting businesses and maintaining business in this area. What are some of the list of the really great things that you can brag about with Calaveras County? When say you're talking to somebody from New York City, and what's like, there's a concept called the elevator talk. Where you elevator spiel, where you have maybe during the time of like an elevator trip to give somebody the whole idea that you have. What's your elevator spiel for Calaveras County?
I haven't used it in a minute. So I think the biggest thing about Calaveras County and about wanting to live here or work here is wanting to live here. It's a great place to raise your family. There's great opportunity for growth. It's clean, it's healthy. You have great outdoor recreation opportunities. I mean, we are just an amazing community, amazing county altogether. And I mean, it's affordable. It's healthy. It's here. It's Calaveras. Yeah. Choose Calaveras.
You talked about recreation, and it's true. We have some wonderful things, like the Big Tree State Park and New Maloney's and all the rivers and we have this business called ORS, which is what is it? ORS is an acronym for Outdoor Adventure River Services or something to that effect, and they've been here for a long time. But so you probably know the story that the Stanislaus River was dammed with the dam at Lake New Maloney's, and so the rafting on the Stanislaus River disappeared, really. But ORS stayed here, and they are a worldwide company based in Angels Camp, and we have to be very proud of those guys.
Oh, they're awesome. They are amazing. They're good people. I mean, there's a lot of niches like that. I mean, if you go to the Calaveras Visitors Bureau and look, we have a beautiful guide that tells you, I mean, everything from equestrian to biking and hiking to kayaking, and there's a lot of great things to do here that you can't do in other places.
It's true. I have that brochure. That brochure it's in my kitchen, and when someone comes to visit, I break out that brochure, and what are we going to do today? And we'll just go down that, and you can pick that up at the County Visitors Bureau and in Angels Camp, right? So, all right. So, give me some more of your elevator spiel.
Our spiel. Well, I guess I'd have to say that Calaveras is, I mean, we've got a rich history.
That's true. Everyone knows about Mark Twain and the celebrated jumping frog of Calaveras County and our county fair.
Very historical. We have great ghosts. We have great buildings to visit with ghosts.
Sorry, wait, back up. We have great ghosts?
We have great ghosts.
I did not know that.
Oh, yes. There was Ghost Hunters filmed again about 3 weeks ago at the Hotel Leger in McCollum Hill. You should check that out. And we do have a lot of ghost hunters. We have some great old cemeteries with history. You can go, see where Mark Twain was and go to Jackass Hill, and there's just so much to see and do from many perspectives. I mean, the one thing about coming to Calaveras, you'll never be bored.
That's true. We have great music. Concerts at Ironstone or in the community parks all around the area. The Arts Council in San Andreas puts together a nice a series of concerts at Bryce Station. That sort of thing. They have concerts all the time, which is such a cool California experience, by the way. If you haven't been to one of the Bryce Station concerts, all right, I'm not getting paid for this, but you sit outside in this lush grass and underneath the pine trees, and the sun sets behind you, and there's music playing, and girls break out their hula hoops and their sundresses, and you have a glass of wine and a barbecue. I mean, it can't get more California than that, except for maybe if they brought out a surfboard.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
So the other thing, too, that they do at Bryce Station is a lot of theater. So we've got some amazing theaters. We had the Shakespeare theater there. Was 2 years ago. They didn't do it last year, obviously, because of COVID. We also have the Murphy's Creek Theater. They have some great performances. I mean, we have a lot going on. I mean, there's culture, there's country, there's healthy and happy. I mean, Calaveras has it going on.
Okay. All right. Let me do a little 180.
Okay.
How about the fires? Yes. All right. There was a big sigh there from Kathy Gallino. Fires are a problem. Do people from outside areas wonder if it's worth it to come here because of the risk of wildfire?
It's a really good question. I think there's a valid concern there. I live here and I'm concerned. In fact, I have a tree guy coming on Friday to wipe out as many trees near my house that I bought my house for, with all these trees, that I'm now cutting them down and getting them away from my home. I think there is a concern. I think that Calaveras has gotten a lot better. I mean, we learned a lot from the Butte Fire. We've certainly learned a lot from the Camp Fire and all the other fires that have been around us. We're working very hard to get our dead and dying trees out of the forest, to cut down on our fuels. Our Office of Emergency Services kicks butt on trying to get these trees, and working with other organizations, whether it's the federal lands, if it's SPI, our partners, and then working with, you know, our local foresters to get these trees out. And people have to be fire smart. But again, there's no way you'd get me back to the city. I mean, I was born and raised in San Francisco. I'm not going back.
It's true. PGE announced also that they're going to bury 10,000 miles of electrical cable too. Have you heard that that includes us?
Yes, it does.
Yay!
So yeah, and actually the first project is going to be the Habitat for Humanity project in Angels Camp. All those new utilities going in will be undergrounded. And it's a matter of time. It's expensive, but I think we can keep moving in that direction, and we need to.
Okay. Also in the news today, and this was filmed in late July 2021, it was reported that the Sheriff's Department has raided and seized, I think, 5 different illegal pot cannabis manufacturing facilities with $2 million worth of product. Is that something too that you hear about? Is this a problem that we need to overcome?
It certainly is. I don't like to see an unlevel playing field, and we have so many that are permitted, that are doing it right, that having illegal grows is just, it's irresponsible, it's dangerous, it's unhealthy. Actually, one of the grows was on La Quintana Drive,
Wow.
in a home that had been converted for indoor cultivation. And I just don't really know why people think that they can do that. I mean, aren't your neighbors going to figure it out? Isn't your PG&E bill going to be like $5 million? I mean, it seems like it's really a stupid chance or stupid risk to take, because they will get caught.
If cannabis is legal in this county,
It is.
why do people do it illegally?
Because they don't want to get permits. They don't want to do it right.
Is it prohibitively expensive to get the permit?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right, we're going to shake our heads and go and wonder why. So, all right. So we only have a few seconds left. If someone wants to contact you and they have questions, concerns, if you can help them, how do they get in contact with you?
So you can call me at 209-754-6742. You can email me at kgallino, Kgallino, at co.calaveras.ca.us.
All right, that's great. I want to thank you so much for coming
Thank
in.
you for
It's been a
having me.
pleasure. You're going to have to come back again sometime. We'll talk about, what's going on with Calaveras County again.
Sounds good.
All right, so thanks for tuning in to everybody. I appreciate it, and thanks for watching Inside View.